Dana, our first question is, what would you recommend that our LCC community do to support our trans community at this unique time in history?
Thank you for the question. I would say we are really dealing with some very difficult and interesting times. There are things and there are kind of attacks coming towards our way in so many ways that I could never imagine they would come. I've been with many of my trans community spaces, and the conversation that we always have is we don't understand why so much like focus on a community that only makes up under 3% of the whole like world. So um with that, I would say more than ever, allies, we need you. In any way that you can be an accomplice would be amazing. Um I think making sure that we are at the table in spaces where conversations is coming up on things that we may need support with or how that can be supported is very valuable and what needs to happen. There's a thing that is said out there that I'll rather be at the table than on the menu. And right now, in some spaces, it's back and forth with we're on the menu or we're being invited to the table. So I would say, as a community, um, Lane coming together as allies and seeing how you can best support um, those students, those faculty members that you may have, staff members, any ones that may identify within trans. Um, Understand too when you are in spaces and you've brought us to the table, do that step back type of thing when it's not something that maybe may need your voice. Because we might not always need your voice. We just may need you to bring us to the space where our voice needs to be heard. But then that is your time to where we would say, step back, because we don't need that from you anymore. So understand, you know, what your privilege may look like as a cis or a binary individual, and how you can make sure that you're navigating more of that voice coming from that trans person. Address microaggressions, address folks that may be trying to do any other type of harms, and then also understand what the privilege you may have, address how it's important to elevate our voices. So that would be my answer to that.
Thank you. That is actually a really good segue into the next question. What would you most like those who do not identify as trans or non-binary to understand about TDOR and or trans experiences in general?
Um, Thank you for that question as well. So, a lot of us have very unique stories, and a lot of us are sharing our vulnerability and stories with folks. Sometimes just more in an intimate setting, sometimes like very, very more in a spaces like this with films and sharing it. Um, Respect our story and don't just take our story as some type of like maybe fragility or guilt thing of look what I do. I have this one friend I'm trying to support. Respect that. Respect our stories because there are stories, there are lived experience. And a lot of us have done a lot of resilient things to navigate through that. So respect the stories that you may get, respect the folks that you may get, and then as Tidor, my first thing would say hashtag can we end Tidor? Um, I'm actually tired, and it's been years and years and years of this, of where the numbers instead of decreasing, they tend to maybe increase or stay the same and kind of still fluctuating. And it's like, because what we're just choosing to be our authentic self, we belong here too. So stop with the you want to harm us to not bring that visibility. We're not going nowhere. Our history is very valuable, and we're here. So I would say any type of call to action that can be done to kind of end the T door. I yearn for a year where we can say there was no anti-trans violence, murders, or anything abusive that happened. There is no T door ceremonies needed, as all of our trans community members are okay. That will be my main goal, and I'm hoping others also see the importance of that to try to get us there.
I agree with that. Would you be willing to speak about some of the areas of danger or potential violence you and other trans or non-binary individuals face that those outside of the community may not realize?
I can give more of like a answer to my personal. I don't like know each trans non-binary individual's like personal violence that they may have went through. So when I'm answering this one, this is probably just more of like a vague, all over type of an answer. But I would say there is physical abuse, and we're very aware that there's a lot of physical abuse, but also abuse that is maybe emotional. There is abuse that is verbal. There are macro aggressions. There's ways of microaggressions, and then there's a lot of like maybe passive aggressiveness, doing things to harm people in general. Um, Abuse is abuse, whether if there is a physical or if there's a mental, emotional abuse is abuse. So, more so, I would say educating folks about that and understanding that you just because you're not doing anything physically violent doesn't mean that you are not inflicting a type of violence in a different way. Um, I would say that first piece of that would be very, very important for folks to understand. Also, understand there may be times where, as a community, for our safety, we may not actually want to share that piece, and we may not actually want an ally to support, to speak. So make sure that you are checking in with those folks to see if that is something that they are comfortable with you doing, because in some spaces that may bring upon more harm and put them in a more unsafe type of a space. Um, but I always key on just trying to continue to educate yourselves on the various different ways of how you can stand up for the community, and then also learning again about how violence can be, because it's very different, like ways of how that can be inflicted.
Thank you. I want to turn that around just a little bit. Would you be willing to share some recent moments of joy that you've experienced that have helped you keep moving forward?
Thank you for that. Yeah. So recently I've been doing a lot of work, and I've been doing a lot of work with the unhoused, I would say more so community, and really supporting LGBTQIA plus community members that may be unhoused. And recently, there has been amazing work in the county that I'm working in, to where we've been able to support a lot of LGBTQ plus families, to really bring about any type of food insecurity, any type of shelter or transportation that may be needed. We've been a part of like really putting the space of that out there and the importance. Some other things that have been happening in the county where I'm doing a lot of the community work that I am engaged in, the LGBTQIA plus commission that I'm a part of, we've kind of spearheaded a campaign where we're bringing visibility to the LGBTQ plus community within in that county, and making sure that all elective officials, all school board trustee officials, any political being is aware of the LGBTQ plus community, and they're making sure in every space that they have as a political power that they are bringing our representation and the importance of making sure they're being inclusive to us. That is probably the biggest thing I'm very happy of. Not to mention the various different work with over in the coast of Half Moon Bay in California. We have a LGBTQIA plus center named Coast Pride, and that is building so much to where we're now looking into bringing in a mental health component to do some things about youth mental health that may identify as LGBTQ plus. So many different ways of how now like the work that I'm doing is like intersecting in so many different spaces to support. So that's been real amazing, like feeling for me lately.
Thank you. Just hearing about it brings me joy.
Yeah.
This last one that was submitted previous to the event is, what other film recommendations might you offer?
Great question. So there is actually a very good film that is highlighting Miss Major, who we took the moment of silence for in the beginning of our screening. I definitely want to recommend that. That is an amazing actual documentary that actually probably did a little bit of some highlighting on like my whole like want in to embrace change and to bring community. So I definitely want to say I recommend it. In the spaces that I have seen it has been free. And so I would say there is ways of out being able to view it, and it's free. I would also recommend going to your local film screening that may be more focused on equity based or LGBTQ plus film screenings, and going to check out and looking at those films from those local filmmakers you may have, but that may be also up and thriving and trying to create spaces like I am in films, and bring in that. Please, please, please support those indie filmmakers and those indie films. I would say that would be my thing that I would bring to the space.
Thank you so much, Dana. And I will add, if I may, one film suggestion there that actually just got released last week. Andrea Gibson is another, I'm going to tear up here, ancestor that we have lost this year. And I actually helped bring them to Lane on what turned out to be the last show of their last tour before they got cancer. And they and their partner worked with a film team to film a documentary called Come Meet Me in the Good Light, which is available only on Apple TV. I have feels about that, but it is what it is. And I would really recommend watching that. It is a stunningly beautiful representation of just queerness in general. All right, we have a few minutes left. Do we have folks in the room who have additional questions? Do we have anyone on Zoom, Lauren? All right, well, thank you so much, Dana, for being here, for making time to spend with us today. It's been a real pleasure working with you to make this happen. Thank you to everybody who came and helped us hold space today for Trans Day of Remembrance and made space to hear Dana's story as well.
Thank you, Lane community. Thank you all that put in the work to make this happen. Sarah, Combe, Randy, Laura, Lisa, and team. Appreciate all of your allyship and really trying to make this work be seen and be heard. So thank you. Thank you for everyone there that came and seen it. Appreciate it. And continue to enjoy and continue to thrive.
Thank you.